Hey guys, Shaman. Today I want to talk about equipment in Star Savior, where to get them, where the strong tier 2 equipment in the early game, how to use equipment to boost your combat power like crazy, and everything about equipment. First off, this is going to be the equipment dungeon where you're going to get all your equipment. Just kidding. You don't give a shit about this part in the early game. You only do them because the game requires you to clear the stage for the first time. If you spend a bit of stamina here, you're only getting resources to upgrade your equipment because you are mostly going to get trash and the basic enhancement material. So don't put your stamina in here thinking that you're going to get so many equipment and you don't have to continuously farm them in the early game like other turn-based gacha game that you've played before. Because for me in Summoners or even in the early game, you might have to farm a bit of equipment in these earlier dungeons, even in Ethereal Restart as well. But in this game, this is not important at all in the early game. The biggest equipment resource is actually in the event tab, and that's going to be this one right here. That's going to allow you to get so many equipment boxes as long as you progress in the AFK stages, and that is where you get your first layer of tier 1 legendary yellow gear. So when you go to the storage, you're going to see that you are having a lot of equipment boxes that say T1 on the top right corner. This is where you're going to get your equipment. And in here, you can long click them to see what kind of set and stat you are getting. And for the equipment slot, this game make it really easy. So most of the set are going to give you bonus stats. So you don't have to worry about like this set's going to give you a special effect whatsoever. It is mainly stat focused for equipment in this game. And for the early game, you're starting out, your equipment stat is not going to be very good. The majority of the stat you're going to get from the equipment is going to come from the set bonuses. So for example, this set give me 30% crit rate and this set give me 5% extra attack. But if I were to use an attack set on HP set, it's going to give me a huge 30% bonus from the set bonus, which is very big. And you can have another 2-piece set that's going to give you another 10% HP over here for your healer or your tank. And tier 2 set bonus is the same as tier 1 set bonus, so don't worry. Even if you're using tier 1 gear in the early game, it is still going to give you a lot of stat just from completing the set bonus. And to make it really simple to remember, the top row and the boots are always going to be fixed, which means you're going to have attack percent, HP percent, and defense percent in the top row, and then the boots will always give you speed. So there are only 2 different pieces that you have to care about variable substat. So the middle slot, the ring, is going to be the one that usually synergizes with your character archetype. So damage dealer scale with attack, get attack percent. And then HP tank, HP healer like Ashera or Emily are going to get HP percent. And then for the last piece, the left side necklace is going to be speed, usually. This one you can get attack, HP, crit damage, crit rate, or speed. And for the most part, speed is always a very safe option to get because this is a turn-based game. If you move frequently, you heal more, you do more damage, you land more debuff, you have shorter cooldown. So speed is the most recommended stat for pretty much anyone. So the only piece that you have to make some sort of decisions is going to be the middle one, is going to be either attack percent or HP percent. So early game gearing is going to be very simple and very similar across different units. So when you have to pick gear that's going to be like the fixed stat one, you have to do them one by one. So you get the sword, you get the glove, you get the armor, and then you get the boots. And these are going to be fixed main stats, so you don't have to worry too much about that. You can long click them to see what they are showing, and then when you go to the necklace, it's gonna be like attack percent, HP percent, or speed. In the early game, if you don't know what you're doing, always get the speed necklace or pendant. And then when you go to the ring, you can once again long click in the box to see what you're getting. Don't get effect hit, don't get effect resistant. It's not gonna help you a whole lot. For damage dealer, Lacey, Bunny Girl, Charlotte, Frey, whatever, get attack percent. For your healer, for your tank in the front line of scale with HP, then get HP percent. Call it a day. Now you are building the character correctly. In terms of set, which one to use for damage deal, I'm going with the crit rate bonus, and then I have speed and then attack percent with the Valor set to get a bit extra attack power. For my healer, I'm going in with HP set to get the most HP possible, and then I go for the barrier set for a bit more HP. I think for PvP in the future, a lot of people are going to switch their defender and their support healer into the speed set to get the most speeds possible for speed tuning, outspeeding the enemy, going in with the big combo, but that is a different story. For the early game, you might want to survive the hard-hitting bosses. You don't have to move that frequently, so HP set is totally fine as well. For your tank, Emily scale with HP, so I went with the HP set as well. And right now it is on heal day because I'm going for a different chapter. It requires me to have a red tank instead of a blue tank. So heal day is using the Emily set. That's going to be the HP set and then the barrier set for extra HP. For sub DPS, I'm going in with a crit rate one as well. But once again, in the future, when PvP matter a bit more, you need to go first. If you go second, you might get one shot and die. They are going to potentially change in the speed set, but definitely not in the first 2 or 3 weeks of playing this game. That's for sure. And today I managed to unlock the T2 gear by doing the chapter 15. So I immediately upgrade my T2 gear gold quality because this is pretty much the best quality gear you can get in the game, besides getting the perfect substat roll, which is something that you don't have to worry at the moment. So when you get the T2 gear as gold quality, you can max them out, no problem whatsoever. And if you want to squeeze a bit more stat out of this piece of gear, you can also engrave the piece of gear onto the characters so they belong together to get a bit more stat as well. The main difference between T1 gear and T2 gear is the amount of stat and substat you're gonna get, and it is quite a decent amount when you max them out, when you combine them side by side. If you have like 3 good speed, 80% and speed, the difference is quite noticeable. For the top row, because the main stat is going to be flat stat, not percentage, I don't tend to upgrade them this early into the game just yet because it is expensive to upgrade them unless they have like the perfect substat for these characters. And then how do you know which perfect substat to aim for? When you look at a unit like Arshera Watts, she doesn't really have a debuff. So you don't have to worry about the effect hit, and she mainly scale with her max HP, and she can crit her follow-up attack. So you can look out for HP percent, speed, and crit rate, and that is pretty much the only thing that she care about. You can try to get a bit more defense on her as well, which is great to have, and you don't have to worry about like attack percent or maybe even crit damage because you're not even critting that often anyway. And effect resistance is going to be something that more relevant in PvP if you want to try to build like an effect rest, but usually effect rest is kind of fake in turn-based game as well. So for the most part, a character like this who scale with max HP that doesn't have a debuff, you'll just want to have like speed, HP percent, and then a bit of crit rate because she can crit and do more damage. For a character like Lacey, who actually has a debuff in skill 3, you want to have a bit of effect hit percent, but for her to do good damage, you want to have attack percent, crit rate, and crit damage in the combination of your substat, and then speed as well so that you move often so that you can do your damage more often. But then when you look at a damage dealer like Bunny Frey, who once again doesn't have a debuff, and she buffed her own crit rate, which means you only really need 70% crit rate because a crit rate buff is going to give you 30%. So when you build this character, when you're trying to build a stat for her, you want to cap her crit rate at 70% so you don't have to waste more crit rate in her. If you don't use crit rate buff for Lacey, you might need to try to hit the 100% crit rate. But for this character in particular, 70% crit rate and you're good to go. You can focus the attack percent, crit damage percent on her so that she can deal the most damage possible. A AoE debuff is not super meta at the moment, but character like Bell Riz, who focus on landing silence on the enemy and remove buff on the enemy, as well as putting accuracy down the enemy. So these are the characters that focus mainly on landing their debuff, and their usefulness rely solely on whether they land their shit or not, because if she doesn't land her silence, if she doesn't strip, then she's gonna be very useless because she doesn't do very good damage and she can't tank very well. So this is the character in which the middle piece the ring piece is going to be effect accuracy. On this game, I think it's going to be effect hit, because you want to land that skill, especially against potentially high resistant healer or tanker. So you will have like double speed on the amulet as well as the boots. In the middle, you're going to have effect hit, so that you're going to land your debuff, which is the main selling point of these kind of character. And for these character, she's going to be the one that use the extra effect hit set that you are going to probably ignore in the early game, because we are now only focused on doing damage and trying to survive. But when we go into PvP later, you want to look out for the set that give you effect hit, which is not very popular in the early game, right? We are all getting like the damage focus set, the HP focus set, but we kind of ignore this one right here that give you crit rate effect hit. So this is going to be like for pseudo damage dealer, debuffer kind of thing. But for raw debuffer that doesn't do a lot of damage, then we want to get the hit set together with the speed set. This is literally the PvP dungeon, the Arctic Assault, because I feel like a lot of units in the future are going to be on the speed and resist. For damage dealer that might have debuff, it might be speed and hit set. But that is for the future though, not now. Another thing about equipment upgrading is that whenever you +3, +6, or +9, you're going to get one extra bonus in your substat. So this one is going from +3 to +6, and you pray that it goes into speed. It did not go into speed, which is a waste on my Archero, because it went into attack percent, the worst thing. But if I go +9, it might have another hit into speed, which is very important. You can also use the pieces that you upgraded before, but you no longer have any use for that as material, which is great. So you might have +12, +15, some tier 1 gear that you don't even use that for your second team anymore, because they're also using tier 2. Then you can use that piece of gear as upgrading material as well. So don't go and upgrade them into the level in between the ones that are going to get an extra substat. If you're upgrading a piece of equipment, brings them to a level that's going to give you an extra bonus in a substat. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And don't stop in the middle for whatever reason. So let's go to +9. And oh, we get crit rate. That's not too bad. There's another way to get gear, which is going to be in the free-to-play shop. So in the PvP shop, you can actually get a random piece of gear. So you don't know which one you're going to get. You don't know what kind of stat you're going to get, especially if you roll onto one of these. And a defense percent on attack stat is going to be pretty trash. So this is a huge gamba moment, and I don't really recommend it. Okay, most of us are going to get shit. There's going to be that one guy that get a speed boot that has all the right substat. What I really want you guys to buy is going to be like the skill of material, because farming these are not going to be easy, and we are going to run out of them very, very soon. So I think these are a bit more important, because it is a fixed guarantee progression compared to this random gamba thing. But hey, if you feel like gambling and you think you're going to get the right thing, then go for it. I'm not your mom. You can do whatever you want. And the same thing can be applied to the hunt quest as well, because you can choose to get a random thing over here. Like you could get like a defense percent on attack set, or maybe effect res, which is going to be absolutely garbage, and you're going to waste a lot of resources on these. Or you can get this and upgrade the thing that you have already built. So once again, it's going to be a trade-off between you want a gamba, or you want something that is fixed but not as good, not as satisfying to get. Between the enhancement stone and the box, what are you guys going to get? Let me know in the comments down below. So that is all I know about gear at the moment. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.